Okay, brah. The reef starts just about here, and it stretches all the way down to there.
Reef? There's a reef?
That's right. So when the wave breaks here, don't be there, or you're gonna get drilled.
All right, so I can tell by the roof that you're at Bobby's camp in G-Land live. That's amazing. Has that place changed? I haven't been there, John. I did the math. I haven't been there in 21 years, which is crazy to me how old I am. It's insane.
Yeah. What was the camp like when you were here last? Just give me that picture.
So I stayed in a hut that was one of those weaved bamboo huts, and the amenities were mosquito nets and rats. That was the amenities. And it was brilliant because I had a wave right out front. And by this time, the huts that were in the front had all been washed away from the tsunami. And the huts were further back. And then they just had built a superior area, which we made fun of our Australian friend who had gotten a superior accommodation that actually had wood and cement involved in it. And so tell me what kind of luxurious palace you're staying in nowadays.
Okay, I am in the superior, section of the G-Land.
Very
It's
nice.
Really high ceilings and tile roof and concrete walls.
Freaking awesome.
It's got Wi-Fi, air conditioning. It's freezing in my room right now.
Jeez.
Hot water in the shower and sink, my own bathroom, obviously, a refrigerator in the room. Last time I was here, we had TVs. We don't have them this year. TVs are gone. I'm glad the TVs are gone. I never use my TV anyway.
Right.
But, I've been coming here for a long time, and I'm talking to you from the jungle live. You're in LA. I'm in G-Land.
It's unbelievable.
I see perfectly and I hear you perfectly. I've just had breakfast. The only thing that hasn't, the wave is the same, but the camp, to tell you the truth, hasn't changed much in the last 10 years. Since they built the superiors and the deluxe, they still got, I call it the ghetto down there in standard, where you don't get air conditioning.
Right.
You have a fan, mosquito net, and it's kind of, a lot of people like it better because it's not ready yet. They're trying to get it ready for the WSL and it's not ready. But you can just use a sheet and a fan inside your mosquito net. The bathrooms are communal,
Yeah.
but the garden's beautiful. But I love my superior wing because the garden's immaculate. There's a hanging hammock that Daryl Terra brought and slung on a tree. The deer sleep there at night. The monkeys aren't too aggressive. It's a higher caliber of monkey aggression. The superior. You froze for a second. I don't know if I did, but I can hear you laughing.
No.
You know how those monkeys get.
Yeah, it's such an incredible experience to be immersed in the jungle. And if it hasn't changed much, I don't think that the animals being there, I used to see all kinds of monkeys. They had the monkey with a little hat, the dude with a little bob. I'll put a picture of him up. There were wild pigs, there's deer. I never saw a tiger, but they're there. What have you seen?
I never saw a cat. I've never seen a cat.
Yeah. Green mamba.
Footprint. Seen a lot of green mamba. Saw a snake the other day, but it was a beautiful little garter snake, but I didn't want to chase it and find out. It might've been a cobra. Who knows? You just never know. I leave them alone unless they show themselves to me.
Yeah. No, but they're there. They're there for sure. And the other one that I really loved was seeing the flying lizards. Like you'd just be walking and a lizard would fly from tree to tree, like that kind of stuff. It's amazing. And that's the environment. But what I really I want to hear all about, like you're there. And by the way, here's how this all started. I follow Bob on Instagram, and
Bob Radiasa or Bob Hurley?
Bob Hurley. So I'm on Bob Hurley. I'm scrolling through Bob Hurley's Instagram and I see you and I'm like, that's unreal. And the contest is coming. I want to talk to John live from the event location and hear about it, because I see a barrel picture of you. I'm going to post that right over here. It looks insane. Like, does that place ever stop? I've never seen it below head high in all the times I've been there.
Right. Okay. Well, I mean, I came in last year during COVID. I had to quarantine in Jakarta, and a couple of us came in, and one of the best session ever here is like Bob Hurley came in with Mike Akima. They came in from Bali, and I was here with like three other Hawaiians, and it was just us in camp. And
Unreal.
those guys, Mike Akima, and they order fresh A grade poke. That the poke, they catch it in the Java Trench, and it goes to a fucking laboratory factory. This is quite a detour. And
okay.
But we just ate. They're so generous. Bob is the kindest, most generous guy in the whole world. And Mike is his brother, and we just eat sashimi all day long. The best I've ever eaten. I'd never eat this high grade stuff. It is the poke from Foodland, which I do love, but it's just freshly caught. But anyway, I love those guys. So he was here again this year. I tried to get here. This is the earliest I've ever come in the season, and I want you to know it does kind of go up and down. Like one day it'll rain, the wind will come in the morning, but not in the afternoon. It's different from what you think. Some days will be, head high and below, which is the smallest you can surf it. You want definitely. It definitely hasn't started pumping every day with very clockwork trade winds, but we had some great. If you saw a barrel, it was probably a Speedies day, or it might have been an Upper Money Trees day at 10-foot faces. I don't know what wave you're talking about, but yeah, we scored, and it still gets good. We're looking forward to a swell that's coming in now, but yeah, I love Bob Hurley, man. We've had some times here when it was just us and him and his friends and a couple Hawaiians, and it's just, Australia couldn't come, Brazil couldn't come. It was just people, Hawaii and California was it. 4 people, we had 5 people in the camp during COVID. Jeez. I stayed here for 2 months, and this year 2 months, but all of a sudden the floodgates are open, and anyone can come. They'll let anyone in now. But anyway, it's just like old times.
Time for me to come back.
Not only do they let anyone in, they're building a shit ton of structures with cement. They're building a tower in the water with sunken cement holes on the reef.
You mean for the event?
For the event, a judging tower right in the middle of Money Trees near Fang, and it's going to be 3 stories tall. Right now, it's 1 story tall. They need to add 2 more stories and run electricity lines to it.
Wow!
But cement on the reef, concrete poles countersunk into the reef. The original tower that you probably climbed to check the surf out and carve your name on or whatever that was up for 20 years is gone. They took that down, and they're erecting something else. There's cement holes everywhere for bathrooms. There was a 50-car pileup here the other day when the governor came in to check the progress of the camp. The Indonesian government is paying for an upgrade on the camp. They're not being paid for by the WSL or by Bobby or those guys. They're like, well, the government wants to do this to promote tourism. So there's quite a bit of activity right now. You'd never know it. Looking Chilean, like, should I show it to you?
It's unbelievable. Yeah, I mean, I miss that place. It's like home. And speaking of Bobby, look at that. I mean, it literally hasn't changed. It stood the test of time. Yeah. It's the same place that I went to back in the late 80s, early 90s. It's unbelievable, man. Speaking of Bobbies, now there's several Bobs, and people that don't know it, Bob Hurley is the nicest guy and has given a lot to surfing, not just the surfers themselves, but contributed a lot to surfing. And then there's Bobby of the camp, and I always stay at Bobby's place. I've never met Bobby, but I just hung out with a crew of Australians that, we went to Bobby's, and I've never, ever gone anywhere else. Not that anywhere else is bad, but it feels like home.
Yeah, it is. It is my second home. I've been coming here since '83.
Jeez.
Thanks to Bobby Radiasa, who just picked up the mantle from Boyum, when Boyum had his problems and had to go. And then he felt he was a full hardcore surfer in Kuta. And Bobby Radiasa is a special person, just like Bobby, just like Bob Hurley. Hey, there's Tiger Tom. Hi, Tom. Say hi to Dave. Here's a fixture in the camp, Tiger Tom.
How are you, Dave? Hey, Tom, how are you, man?
So listen, Bobby's not a normal human being. He's a superior man. But anyway, he just said, I'm going to take care of these surfers at G-Land. He fell in love with G-Land. He surfed it long, in the 80s. And he goes, I'm going to take care of people. And he is why I'm here. He's why this camp exists. He's why any other camp on the point exists. He has just taken care of surfers since '83, and it's without a doubt, it's the best, it's my favorite place in the world. And everybody like you who comes here feels that way. And Bobby's got a very loyal following of people, that just love him. He's done so much for so many people. So I can't say enough good things about Bobby. But let me say this. I mean, this is my favorite place on the planet. I've lived my whole life to come here when I can. And I've probably come maybe every other year for 40 years and seen the camp go through a lot of changes. I survived the tsunami. I've gone through stages of, relapse of horrible drug addiction and stages of sober glee. And I've met wonderful friends that are my friends for the rest of my life here from all over the world. Mm-hmm. But one time, and because it meant so much to me, when I was making the movie Point Break, I said, hey, I know a shirt that one of these bank robbers would wear of a place that only a few people know about. It's a hardcore surf camp. It's called Bobby's G-Land Surf Combat. It's got a skull and crossbones on it. It's gnarly, and only gnarly people go there, and only gnarly people would know about it. And I showed her because we all got shirts every year we came, right? You probably have 10 of them. Yep. But I'm like, they're like, well, will the owner okay that it goes into a movie? Because we have to get clearances. I go, I guarantee it. I guarantee that this shirt, the owner would be happy to see me get shot in the chest by Gary Busey, who played the masochist in Big Wednesday.
Right.
And they're like, okay, they made 10 of them. I got squibbed up. I'm at the airport with Patrick Swayze. I'm wearing a G-Land shirt, and I just feel so fucking rad. And Gary Busey, the masochist from Big Wednesday, lines up a fucking shot. I'm trying to kill him with a shotgun, and he shoots me right in the G-Land logo. And they show it like 8 times condensed, like edited. It goes pop, 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 pop. And I'm in camp 2 years later, or 1 year later, and Bobby Radiasa comes in. Now, I've been in camp with Bobby Radiasa so many times. I love that man. But, I'm not like his best friend or anything. I just admire him. He's very kind to me because I've been coming for so long. And he's sitting at the top of the dinner table. Jerry Lopez is there, Peter McCabe. And he goes, I just got back from Kuala Lumpur, guys. And I saw this movie because there was no copyright, these movies come out immediately. And he's like, I saw this movie is about bank robbers and surfers. And there's a guy in the movie and he's wearing a G-Land shirt. And I'm at the end of the table eating. I go, that was me, Bobby. And he looks at me, he goes, John, thank you, brother. That's so cool. And I'm like, that really is probably my claim to fame, or my most, cherished thing is that, I played the character Turtle in North Shore. So Turtle gets shot by the masochist in Point Break, which is a combination of all great surf movies ever. And Bobby Radiasa was appreciative of it. So I come here and I pay now less than Mike Boyum was asking for back in 1982. There was a point when he was asking an exorbitant amount of money for anyone to come in and surf G-Land. And I pay less than he did then, than he was asking people to pay then for air conditioning, Wi-Fi, hot water, Wi-Fi, Facebook, connection. The wave's the same. Sometimes there's no one here. And that is all thanks to Bobby Radiasa. So I'm only here because of him, and I'm so grateful. And it really is the greatest place on earth. And everybody has a different experience here every time they come.
Yeah, I've gotten some of the best waves of my life there and had some of the best experiences there. Just the travel to get to it. And back in the day, there wasn't a boat. We used to take that van overnight and then take the boats across the lagoon to across the bay. And it was like it was like a full day of travel. You just show up wrecked, and then you'd see the wave and you just paddle straight out. But anyway, I've had some great sessions there that are memorable. I still carry to this day. And let's talk about those sessions. I wanted you to break down the wave a little bit. I know I'm going to let you take it from there. Tell us about the wave.
Well, everyone's kind of sometimes people will point at different spots and their opinion of the name of a spot will be different from mine, like where things start. But my experience is this, Bobby's camp Bobby's camp used to be out at the very point, before the tsunami. Now he's moved it back, but I'll start from the point. There's a keyhole that's a deep water hole. That's the place. They didn't have boat. You used to have to paddle out. I mean, you had to paddle out. So there's a keyhole at the very top of this huge point. If you paddle out and duck dive four waves, 5 waves, get through the keyhole, you're sitting in a deep hole in between Kongs and the ledge. If you paddle to your left as you're looking out at the water, there's this left point break called Kongs, which just looks like any Mentawai island, round wrapped. It's super fun, very forgiving left point break called Kongs, which has different flavors at different tides and is just softer than the gnarly pounding G-land. But sometimes it's the only game in town because it's a low tide spot. When the surf's small, it's head high. It's always head high.
Yeah.
Usually, no matter what, at low tide, it's great. But if you want, and you're in the keyhole, you turn to your right and paddle down. If it's big, there'll be waves cracking on something called the bommy outside, and that's an indicator for sets. But the next surf spot you'll come to that's got a solid, flat, shallow reef at low tide is called the ledge. It doesn't have, sometimes it breaks when it's not even low tide, but it lines up with the old patio at Bobby's. There's a place called the ledge. It's a pipeline wave, spits, and then there's a slight break in the wave, and then Money Trees starts. It's very difficult to connect a wave from the ledge through Money Trees when it's big, but I've heard of people doing it. Fuck, there's my friend from LA. I'm not going to take this call. It's a WhatsApp video call.
Dude, I'm getting a call from my son. I'm not going to take that.
You want to take it?
No.
Do you want to take it?
No.
Okay.
I think so you ledge. Got me at Money Trees, dude. I can't stop now. I love that spot.
So let's say it's high tide, ledge isn't happening, and you see these bombs coming, you see kind of side, almost the back of the wave now. You paddle over to Money Trees, and you used to line up with a tower that's out here, but that tower is gone. So I'm telling everyone, your lineup's gone. You got to use trees now. You got to find your new lineup. Money Trees has like an outside peak and then a wide peak, but it's the longest, most perfect 100-yard, huge face sloping offshore, barrel, but doesn't have to be a barrel. You can, if the pros come here and it's not just a speed, they don't get speedies, it's medium tide. They'll surf Money Trees, and you can get barreled and do turn. I mean, it's just I don't do turns, but it's a big, huge face with the most beautiful view of the park. You can see the whole bay. You're looking down the line. When you catch a wave at Money Trees, you're actually looking down the whole G-land, Grajagan Bay coast. You can ride the wave. It's probably the longest wave in this Plangkung, park. Let's say you catch a wave at Money Trees and it's a 10-foot face, and you get barreled and you do a couple turns, you get barreled again, and you kick out. Now you're like going, oh, that was insane. And then you see a huge A-frame peak coming at you where you kicked out, and you're like, fuck, I'm at launching pads. And you scratch over, and it's way out to sea, and it's an A-frame peak that doesn't have necessarily a barrel takeoff, and it's called the pad because it's a reef out there. Some guys surf it at low tide, and then we call it spatula reef. But at high tide, if you're out there and it's a south swell, the pad forms a big A-frame peak, and it breaks close to the same floss, but it's way out at sea, and it breaks out there and it gets you into a roller. You're on a roller, you have 2 turns before you decide whether to go for it or not through the Cobra and into Speedies. You're up, oh, I made it. There's no one behind me. I got to my feet. I'm looking at this line. I got 1 turn to assess maybe, and 2, the second turn is for speed to go into the section that goes from the Cobra, which is well named, and you'll see it a million times. There's some beautiful footage of Kelly Slater in the Cobra. It's a section of the reef after the ledge lets you in that kind of doubles up and hits a coil, and that's the beginning of Speedies. Once the Cobra breaks, you have a tapering, perfectly machined, just like a machine barrel that goes for 100 yards, maybe 8, maybe not 100 yards. That's a long one. A long barrel that spits you out into near the boat channel, and there's a deep channel down there, and Speedies is the wave that everybody comes to surf. I mean, when we were here just soloing it during COVID, anytime a high tide south swell came, Troy and Nick Chong and all the frothing Balinese barrel hogs would jet over to surf Speedies to try to get launching a pad wave kick up into Speedies barrel, which is one of the best waves in the world.
Yeah.
If you like barrels, and it's not for everyone because it's very shallow. The reef is very shallow there and very fast, and it's a board breaking, you know, dream making wave. That's
Yeah.
Speedies.
Yeah.
Let's say you're here and it's 20 feet and you're like, fuck, it's too big. You know, it's just doubling up. It's too big for G-Land. People are going, oh, we should be at Padang. But you sit here and you wait for the right tide and the wind to stop. And all of a sudden, right in front of Joyo's camp and towards the boat channel, a left appears. And it's called Quicksilver's because once Quicksilver came here and it was so big, they were surfing into the boat channels and it got the name Quicksilver. When it's too big for launching pads or money trees, it's crossing right over Speedies, the very end of that reef into the boat channel. There's a wave they call Quicksilver's, and that is when it's huge and it's perfect.
Yeah.
That's a perfect 10 to 20 foot face left into the boat channel. It's insane. So really you know, people say, oh, it gets too big for G-Land. Yeah, it gets too big for money trees and the ledge and the fang, but it doesn't get too big for chickens and then there's the boat channel. And then the next left is chickens, which is the gnarliest reef on the point. And it's called chickens. It's got to be
Right.
20-foot faces out there. And then chickens is 8 feet and perfect. And then there's 2020s, a perfect longboarding, small performance left that goes into a bay. It's almost like in Bali, Impossibles goes into Bingin.
Right.
Well, chickens goes into 2020s and there's a little bay. After that, there's a couple misto waves. And then there's this wave that all the Russians come in camp to Joyos to surf, which is oh, I can't tell you. It's a secret.
Secret spot.
Yeah, there's a secret spot down there.
Secret spot. Does it
If
have
I
anything
talk-
to do with a tiger?
It does.
All right. All right. We won't
Tiger
sell.
Track's a perfect ride. It's not secret. The Russians come here and it's crowded every day. It's a perfect ride in the middle of the bay. It's
Unbelievable.
look like you're in paradise. Perfect
Yeah.
little ride like Velzyland, not like Velzyland, but good. Fun.
That was such an epic description. Like I couldn't have asked for more. That was really good. And the one, there's a couple thoughts, but the one I'm going to tell you is that when you get into that Cobra and you look down at that and everyone's like, yeah, I can't wait. Like that's the scariest. I blew a couple waves just looking at the sheet glass over the reef and it looks like it's about 2 inches deep. And if you don't commit, I mean, it's bad news. And that the Cobra is scary. And I have to tell you, I've straightened out a couple times. It just got worked. And I've made barrels that I'll never forget, you know, but the first couple times you come around that corner and you look at that thing, it's thick, man. I'm going to put pictures of everything you just described in this video because you did dude, I can't believe that was perfect. How are the WSL competitors going to do? I mean, what is going to happen when the WSL competitors hit this place?
I mean, they got when they had 2 contests here at Quicksilver back in the day, they got it as good as it gets. We camp hogs were like, we were so unhappy. We're like looking at it and they think, oh, now the world G-Land breaks like that every day. And it doesn't. You camp out here, you know, before the swell forecasts and everything, we'd camp out here for a month to get one day like that in the jungle, just sweating it out. Now they come in and get it perfect twice. And we were just wrecked. And then the camp was just too crowded. It was destroyed after that, you know, like, and then people hadn't discovered the Mentwise. Once they discovered the Mentwise, thanks to you and a lot of your work in opening up the Mentwise and taking pictures going, look, you guys, you think, look
sorry
at this
about
spot.
that.
It's okay. I appreciate it. And I'll tell you why, because all of a sudden nobody needed to go to G-Land. They're like, oh my God, look at this picture Dave Collier took of this left called Macaroon. It's mind-blowing HTs. What is this spot? You know, like, so everyone started going to the Mentwise. G-Land got kind of quiet again. And it's just a whole bunch of old guys, you know, like I'm 62. I had my birthday in camp, April 27th. My dream of my whole life was to have my 60 something birthday and surf G-Land, which is Gramps land, Grandpa land, Grumpy land. I love it.
I love it too.
But, yeah, but the WSL guys are the best, you know, they can surf anything. So the worst day I've been here a couple of weeks, the worst day we had, Italo Ferreira came in on a boat while WSL guy was checking the facilities, the progress, and he's just taking the top off these tiny little waves that are just, we wouldn't even really consider surfing, but he's throwing spray more than the wave. Those guys can surf anything.
Yeah.
You know, if they, you know, I don't know, it all depends on the tide. They'll probably be surfing money trees, you know, and just, well, let's see how long he wants to get in the barrel and then what kind of turns he wants to do. You know, they'll just make it look amazing. Whereas, you know, I literally, if I catch the wave, my work is done. I'm like, I got it. I'm just gonna turn and try to go as far as I can. That's all I do here. You know, those guys are performance surfers. So I'm really looking forward to it, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do and where they do it. And, you know, you can see all the different waves broken down, the different sections. They'll probably stay in one section. And my guess is it'll be the Fang or Money Tree. The Fang is like the second half of Money Trees. It's its own little section of reef, but it's a perfect section. The Fang is a part of Money Trees. And it's usually a perfect wave, depending on the tide and the direction of the swell.
Yeah. And I think
sweating.
with the kind of swell you're going to get during that time period, they'll mostly be surfing Money Trees. And I hope that they get enough south swell to see a Speedy session happen. That would be unbelievable. Oh, you froze. That's a bummer. Oh, you're back. You're back.
First call. I mean, yeah, this happens out here sometimes.
Yeah,
And I know,
yeah.
I'm glad.
I thought I lost you. That's awesome. I was just saying, I think for the WSL, it's mostly going to be a Money Trees Fang thing. But if there's enough swell, I hope that we see the world's best get into some Speedies reef. It's gonna blow people's minds. And I think it's, you know, I have regret about it too, is that it's gonna put G-Land probably back on the map. But what people don't understand is, and you just said it, is that they surf way better than they should, and they're gonna make it look easy. And G-Land's not an easy wave, especially for old grumpy guys like us. It's a difficult, you've gotta go. You've got to get in and go. You can't do this slow bottom turn thing that you do in California.
Even Derek Hope sliced his knee open. A girl got really horribly disfigured and hurt last contest they had here. People are going for situations and they're paying a heavy price, and that can happen out here. But that's exciting for fans. You know, it's intimidating for surfers. Yeah, it's a sharp and dangerous reef, but those guys surf Pipeline, they surf Chopu, you know, they're fucking survivors. But anybody can get really hurt if they start heading into Speed Reef. It's not, you know, but they're so good. It would be great to see that.
Yeah. Hey, look, I know you're under a deadline, dude. We're gonna catch up personally. We're gonna catch up personally later, but I do want to ask you. Oh, I know something. So what time is it there in the morning? It's like,
it's 8:50 a.m.
So any minute
on
now,
Wednesday, May 11th.
So you're going to see, there's going to be offshore winds, and they used to have the little bamboo wind chime. I'm going to put a picture of that thing. I love the sound of that thing, because as soon as it goes offshore, do it. As soon as it goes offshore, you hear that and you're like, all right, time to go. And the thing is, at G-Land, people don't realize you sleep in, you have breakfast, you wait till the offshores hit around 9, sometimes 9:30. And that pattern develops like around this time, mid-May, it's usually like in force. And by June, it's every day you're going to get south and southwest swell, and you're going to get that wind. What is it like right now?
It's in the, you know, it hasn't kicked into that machine type pattern. So it's been like onshore glassy in the morning, but with some hours of offshore, and then onshore and then offshore. But then by 12 noon, it's offshore till the sun sets, you know. But some days it seems to be variable and trying to make up its mind for, you know, in the mornings. Some days, one day, which is unheard of. Yeah, I surf before instead of break. I'm like, fuck, it's good right now, you know. And this early season, you got to jump on it. When it's good, you go. But you know, as soon as 2 weeks from now, it's just always going to be 10 a.m. and after offshore till the sun sets.
Yeah, stoked, man. I'm so stoked for you. Thanks, dude, for taking the time, man. I want to catch up when you get back, dude.
Okay, send me a link. I'd love to watch this, and I love your work, Dave. You've done so much for the surfing world. It's a pleasure and honor to know you, and thanks for inviting me.
Dude, that's nice. Thank you, man. I'll definitely send you a link and get some waves for me, man.
Okay, I will, for sure.
You.
Aloha.
See you, brother.
Bye, brother.